It is 1 o'clock in the afternoon on the East Coast. It is 10 a.m. on the West Coast. It is the 13th of June in the year of our Lord 2020, season 10, episode 34. 530 times this face and or this voice has welcomed you to the Clubhouse Podcast, normally live from Vocal Studios in North Dallas / Addison, Texas, but since it is pay-per-view weekend, we are live from our homes. Welcome to my humble abode. My name is Rob. I am the executive producer of the Clubhouse Podcast, and it is a beautiful weekend in the Metroplex, and we'll be taking advantage of it here shortly. Let's go around the dais. Right below my picture on my screen is my co-host and a man who has officially broken his quarantine hair-growing experience. He is Alex. Hey, man.
Well, I kind of had a good reason, but at the same time, it's one of those where I'm glad to be on.
And we're glad to have you here, sir. And you can see him there because he keeps making noise and not muting his phone when he's not talking. He is the official fact checker of Sooner Gator Productions, and now he's going to mute his phone.
No, don't mute your phone. Don't mute your phone now.
He is the official fact checker of Sooner Gator Productions, and there he is. You may know him as Igbunu, but his mama named him Don Ford. I'm going to call him Don Ford. Hey, man.
Hey, I got orange in here now. Not purple, orange. Hi, everybody.
Purple is not a flavor. Purple
Grape.
is a
the grape
color.
is gone. But orange is both. It's a flavor and a color.
It is, and nothing rhymes with it.
Schmorange, a word I made up.
Not a word.
Okay.
See, here I've got buttons. All right, let us dive right in. NASCAR with the big announcement this week. They have banned Confederate flags from all of their events, which to me was a very surprising development. I will say in my experience, and gentlemen, you can echo this or debate it if you want to, I will say the backlash that I have seen on my social media feeds has actually been pretty minimal. Only one driver has thrown his hands up in the air, and he's on the Truck Series, and I don't know if this was a doctored tweet or not, but the one I saw from NASCAR said we actually had to Google you to find out who you are. So
that's doctored.
We hope you and your 12 followers the best.
But at the same time, still very forward-thinking for an organization that has often been ridiculed for being behind the times on, social issues or thoughts along those lines. Having only one full-time driver who is African-American, has a pretty cool car coming out.
Loved that car on Wednesday afternoon. Yeah. That was a great-looking car.
But it was really funny to look at it, and it was like the driver that did take issue publicly. It's like, okay, you're taking a stand. You ain't right, but...
And you're in the truck.
Well, it's kind of like, well, that's NASCAR without the Confederate flag. Let's just be honest. That history, that's kind of like an AA meeting without coffee. When you think about it, I mean, it's always been a part of it, and I understand why they.
But it doesn't have to be.
I understand that,
yeah.
And I didn't say it has to be. I'm just saying it's always been a part when you've gone in some of these huge tailgates. And here's the thing: what are they going to do now? Dukes of Hazzard, are they going to ban the General Lee on all future showings?
We'll just have to see how that works out because...
Yeah, I mean, let's just be honest. And you go to these parking lots, it was just there. It was always been. Or they can tell these people, we're not going to... that flag hanging from your RV out there, you have to put it away. If not, we're going to arrest you for what?
No, Don. They've already said that they will not let them in, and they will not refund the ticket.
Well, what about in the parking lot on their RV?
That's not part of their grounds.
Yeah, that's
if it's
what I'm
outside,
saying. That's
it's their deal.
Yeah,
and you won't have cameras out there anyway.
I understand that.
Yeah,
I totally understand that.
It's within the grounds of the raceways. That's what they're worried about. Is once you cross that line
in the gate.
Yeah, I mean, but what are they going to do in the parking lot?
They don't care.
They don't care
parking
because
lot
again,
is what the parking lot.
It doesn't matter until you cross the gate, Don.
Exactly.
So then they're not worried about that because that's not going to be on camera anyway, and that's what they're talking about. They're not going to have it represented on their broadcasts.
I can't wait for the first person to try and sneak one in, and then we just get to watch them get body slammed by security potentially.
And become a meme for the rest of ever.
Oh, yeah. It's like, this is what happens when stupid.
So next week at Talladega, There will be 5,000 fans in attendance for the first time this season with NASCAR, or since the pandemic anyway. Mm-hmm. And then this weekend in Miami, which is tomorrow's race, they will have 1,000 service members on hand.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. Giving a shout out to the service industry, or not industries, but the service branches and
those who service.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm totally on board with this as well. And I like that they're doing it with them first, because if anybody's trained on how to deal with things like this, you're in the right place. Also, by the way, in today's race in the whatever the circuit is today, I don't quite remember. Dale Jr. is going to be racing today.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
So this is going to be, I want to say his 6th race, but his first start since he retired. So trying to get pulled up some information here on the NASCAR, because I forgot to pull up the schedule.
Well, it's also early enough. I don't know if they've really gotten going.
I'm just talking about what's coming up in down the road here. But I'm having to use the Yertle the Turtle computer in the studio to do it.
Just broke.
Mm-hmm.
The driver, who I will not say his name because he doesn't deserve it, has basically felt the backlash and was like, "Oh, well, maybe I won't stop racing."
Are we getting a what had happened was?
Yes.
Okay, so tomorrow, today, this past Wednesday was the Blue Emu Maximum Pain Relief 500.
Say that 10 times fast.
That.
I think you were one short.
Nope, I was not. I counted. And that was won by the Truex. Martin Truex Jr. won that race. I don't know why it's not doing the deal here, because I asked for it to open in a new tab. Thank you. God bless this computer. This is the one that we run the music off of. And all right. It just does not like me at all anymore. It's like, I was great 10 years ago. All right, here's your top 10 finishers. In 10th place in the number 48 Chevrolet, seven-time champion Jimmy Johnson. In the number 1 Chevrolet in 9th place is the Kurt Busch. William Byron, the poet, he comes in 8th in the 24 Chevrolet. The made guy, Matt DiBenedetto. And then to number 21 Ford, he comes in 7th place on Wednesday night. Alex Bowman in the number 88 Chevrolet, the hot arrow up to 6th place. Chase Elliott, attorney at law, in the number 9 Chevrolet. He finishes 5th in 4th place in the number 22 Ford, formerly belonging to Smoke. That is now belonging to the Joey Logano. In the bronze medal in the number 2 Ford, Brad Keselowski. Silver medal goes to the Stone, Ryan Blaney, in the number 12 Ford. And like I said just a moment ago, Martin Truex Jr. in the number 19 Toyota wins the race on Wednesday. Where your grand marshals were Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, which I thought was pretty cool. And that was at Martinsville. Tomorrow, we are at Homestead. 267 laps, 400 miles. There might be some irony here, given what we just talked about. Because the name of this race is the Dixie Vodka 400.
There is a little bit there.
And then next week, we talked about Talladega on June 21st. By the way, tomorrow's race will be on your Fox proper, as will next week on Father's Day, the Geico 500 from Talladega. They've redone the website, though, so now it's telling me 188 laps, 500 miles. I kind of dig that. Give you a little something to work with here, NASCAR. And that will also be on your Fox proper. They will also be racing the following Saturday at Pocono. So you're going to have, the Pocono Organics 325 in partnership with the Rodale Institute.
Quick note, Dixie Vodka does not use a Confederate flag, so we don't have to worry about that.
Okay. Still a little weird. I'm just saying it. All right, other sports news to talk about this week. Interesting news from the French soccer league, Ligue 1. Is that one in French? They are suspending relegation this year.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So for those of you that don't know what that means, European soccer has this thing where there are multiple leagues. It's kind of like with minor league baseball where you're AA, AAA show, right? So if you are one of the bottom X number of teams in the upper league, you get dropped a league, and then the upper teams in that league take your place in that league. We've talked about it on this show with the crazy meme as far as football goes in that category. But it's very interesting. But this year, because of everything that's happening, I believe that they felt that relegating teams in this particular season may not be necessarily both fair and equitable. So they're going to suspend relegation for this season, which I get. I mean,
there's two sides to that coin, because the idea of, okay, you're not hurt by a shortened season getting moved down, but what about those teams that were having their good year to move up?
Exactly.
Because moving up involves higher ticket sales, better prices, a lot of different things. So there is two sides to it, but we also understand the idea of, look, we're just going to wash this.
Again, fair and equitable. That's
it's
the
as
thing.
Close as you get to fair and equitable in this.
Yeah. MLS has a start date. They will be at the ESPN Wide World of Sports on July the 8th with the aproposly named MLS is Back tournament.
I kind of dig them starting with a tournament, though.
And it's going to be
always good for
full round robin. I think they said like 43 teams or something crazy like that.
I didn't see this. I got to look that up.
Yeah.
Are they going to allow fans on this one or what?
So this is going to be in the quote unquote bubble.
Okay.
Which we will talk about momentarily, because there is a huge flaw in this system that was just talked about Thursday. No, it was just yesterday. I was watching on the S-Spin, and they were talking about this. And that will get us into the NBA. We talked last week on the show about how NBA is proposed. They're talking just like the NHL about moving their season to start in December and end in August. But now the NBA is saying, to kind of help reset the clock on everything, that they're going to shorten the 2021 season to catch everything up. Alex is saying there were 23 teams? 26 teams in the MLS is Back tournament. Now you've also got players that are waffling on the bubble concept in Disney World. One of the biggest problems with the system that was reported yesterday, I was watching PTI, apparently the Disney support staff is going to be able to come and go as they please.
That seems to be a flaw.
You're in. Because if you come and go as you please, you're defeating the purpose of the bubble.
Absolutely.
I don't get this. And now they're talking, well, there's going to be too many teams in certain hotels. I don't agree with that particular sentiment, because once you're in, you're in.
It's like, is Disney World really short on hotels? Really?
It depends on what your definition, because you're going to have these guys that aren't going to want to stay at value resorts, Don.
I know, but still, Disney, how many resorts does Disney have, and how many hotel rooms does Disney have?
Right, but how many of those hotel rooms you have to really look at, and I don't know how I would get the numbers on this, but I would be interested to see how many upper echelon rooms they have versus personnel in the league.
There are, I don't know if you had this note, but 1,200 to 1,500 people inside the bubble, but a majority of them are staying at the Swan and Dolphin,
which is a nice hotel.
It's the very first.
My girlfriend in college had her prom there. Now, I think if it were me, I'd much rather be at someplace like the Grand Floridian. But I think there's also some geographic desirability there too.
Exactly. That's the closest one, I believe, that is an actual facility or hotel facility to the wide world.
Key West might be close.
But Key West is smaller, isn't it?
But I'm just saying from a geographic desirability.
Not the actual Key West, to those watching. We're having a Floridian discussion real quick.
The Key West Resort at Disney is actually only open to Disney Vacation Club members. And it's basically living in an apartment. I mean, it's a gorgeous facility. If I were an NFL or an NBA player with a family, I would almost rather stay there than at the Swan or the Dolphin. because the Swan and the Dolphin are hotels for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, you get the room, you get the bathroom, pretty much end of list.
Key West is more of a condo community.
Yeah. I believe they use it as a timeshare, correct?
No, it's the Disney Vacation Club. Trust me.
Tomato in that regard.
No.
We're going to have to talk about that off air then.
Because I have my friends that I go to Night of Joy with, that's where we always stayed. That's the only reason I know.
Off air.
Let's see. NHL training camps to start July the 10th. The NBA has actually backed up their opening day a day to the July 30th because they wanted to beat the NHL.
And to think, baseball had every opportunity to be the first sport back. Boom, business. And they screwed that up, didn't they?
We're going to be lucky if we get a season at all at this point.
Exactly.
I want to say it was Trevor Bauer was on McAfee the other day, and he was saying 48 games, not going to get it done. He goes, because that's basically ending your season at the end of May. And if you look at the way that the standings line up at the end of May in an average MLB season, most of those teams don't even make the playoffs. So, Fight Island is officially a thing. And that will kick off July 11th on an island off the coast of Abu Dhabi.
I cannot wait to see how this goes.
There is an octagon on the beach.
God.
This is a true story.
Can't wait to see if there's sand getting into the octagon. That'd be terrible.
I have two words.
First person to tap out by getting sand rubbed in their eyes.
I have two words of what we're 2 steps away from.
I know what it
Mortal Kombat!
Well, you gotta look. They did the bash at the beach. You know how much sand actually got in there, and were they technically even?
Bash at the beach was in an arena.
They've done some beach.
They did do Bash at the Beach during the spring break on the beach at once.
No, that wasn't Bash at the Beach. That was the spring break show.
Or what? Well, still, the beach. They've done beach shows next to the sand. It did the sand really get in and ruin the rings and all that stuff.
I'm not giving you credit for that. And that was at
Don't
a
worry,
hotel.
Don. I'll give you
that
credit.
was away from
Thank
the
you.
beach. That wasn't actually on the beach.
But they've done shows on or close to the beach.
No, they've done-
And who says that? You know, okay.
No!
Thanks, Alex.
But let's talk about the real thing you want to talk about in sports.
Just one.
July 28th. It's the only date that matters right now. July 28th is when all veteran NFL players are to report for training camp outside of the Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will have to report early because they will be the ones playing the Hall of Fame game. We have a date. We are ready to go. Let's get the car loaded. Let's paint the field. Let's get the TV cameras ready, baby, because the NFL's coming.
But I do have a question.
Yes.
How do you feel about the fact that the teams that typically do their training camp further away from home, like the Cowboys in Oxnard, do you think that matters? I mean, it won't matter as much for the Cowboys because they have the Star in Frisco. They have everything they need.
The only
locally.
people it matters to are the people that live in Oxnard. That's
Yeah,
it.
they got money, I think.
And the Star is 20 times better than anything they would have done at Oxnard anyway. And that, to me, that's better for your players because they can stay at home or at a hotel right there. They're in a familiar area. And I think this works better because none of the teams that do, and this is every team in the league, if you don't do training camp in the city where your team is from, you're not going to that city. Everybody is at home for training camp, which I am completely on board with. As a Dolphin fan, that's always been the way.
Yeah, well, all but I believe 2 teams, and Dallas being one of them. But I will give the Cowboys credit on this. I know, pump the brakes. But the reasoning that they started going to Oxnard and then continued the tradition made sense because Texas is hot.
Yeah, but the Star's really nice, and it's
No.
Yeah, they have
Now it
indoor
doesn't
and
matter.
outdoor fields.
Now it doesn't matter, but when they started doing it in Oxnard, it made perfect sense.
But what makes perfect sense is that we're going to get the NFL. And for people that are like, how are you going to feel when the games are live? You know how I feel? I'll be in my living room. That's how I feel.
The same place I would have been anyways?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go.
What happens if there's no fans? I don't care.
Yeah. It works for Korean baseball. And they had a cat they chased.
Did you see their new method of filling the stands this past week?
I did not.
All stuffed animals?
I'm on board.
No, they used all stuffed animals, and I had flashbacks and had issues. They put way too many stuffed animals of an equal color to the baseball behind the backstop. So that every time you could see like a ground ball hit, but it was a little bit hotter coming out, you had the infielders pause for just 1 second like they lost it.
You know, if it were me, you know what I would do? Is I would find a life-size ET doll and put it amongst them just to see if anybody noticed.
Not even a doll. Just find a recreation.
So, but it's got to be scale, though. That's my whole thing.
Exactly. But what I'm saying is you make it look realistic, not like a doll.
I'm ready.
And then we look over and there's just Drew Barrymore in the nosebleeds.
I'm ready. Let's just go.
Get me something.
Oh, and the problem is you're going to go from famine to feast in about a 3-week time span.
I don't care. I'd rather the feast.
Oh, no, I'm right there with you. Don't get me wrong.
My bank account needs that feast.
Well, speaking of your bank account, let's ask that question. Have you seen any of the footage from Vegas since they've reopened?
Yeah, I have, and it looks very uncomfortable.
A huge lack of face masks going on right now.
Very uncomfortable.
So let me ask you this, because this applies directly to you, because as we have well documented on this show, you have a huge trip to Vegas that you take once, twice a year. One of those is coming up here within the next 60 days. How does seeing these things affect your thought process as you would normally prepare for this trip? Is the trip still on? Is it up in the air? How does this affect that?
Well, it's interesting, and for the sake of fact, in case anybody who's watching the show or listening that wants to find me, it'll be after Labor Day. So it's a little outside of 60 days, but it's in preparation of week 1 of the NFL. And I am very torn. I'm very torn on this because, as you know, I am not want to get myself in the middle of people who are potentially carrying something, especially with numbers spiking as they are now. But this is on multiple levels something very important to me, and it has been for years, both, financially and is familial a word? Family oriented?
I'll take it. I'll count it. Don, you co-sign counting that?
Yep, I count it.
All right, we're counting
Only owed me one.
Yeah.
The trip is still on. The trip is still on. I will still be out there. However, it may be a much shorter trip. It also may be a more handle what business I need to handle regarding the NFL season or anything else, and then heading back to my room with a UV sanitizing light. But it would take some drastic positivity, which I don't see coming, for me to think it's going to be the same as any other trip. So I will still make the trip. I will be hazmat suited. But I
am Darth Vader.
And I still haven't heard back on my challenge to hazard play, so let's see.
All right, we'll find out. All right, let's get into some TV talk. A&E has officially canceled their live PD show. Part of this is because they allegedly had footage from the young man in Austin who was killed last year during a stop. That footage was allegedly destroyed, which the producers of the show are claiming was actually part of their protocol and nothing malicious. But A&E, for lack of a better term, let's call it for what it is.
Destruction of evidence is just part of their protocol.
Well, there's a whole thing to that I don't.
No, and I understand protocol, but that's one of those things where giant red flag should come up.
I know. I'm not saying I disagree with you, but A&E, for lack of a better term, erring on the side of caution here, they have canceled the show, just as the Paramount Network has officially canceled Fox. I mean, Cops. Well, because Cops used to be on Fox.
No. I get it, but at the same time, it's like there's a lot on Fox that should get canceled.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
So Pop TV had a show with the Anna Paquin called Flack, and this is where she played a young American lady who was basically part of a PR firm for celebrities in trouble in Britain. They've dumped that show, but Amazon has picked it up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say. I thought on Pop. I thought you were going to say Impact.
No, that's not been on Impact. It has not been on Pop for quite some time, Don.
And their ratings have gone up since, probably.
And we're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Okay.
On the other show.
But he has the bottle now.
See? With more.
I hate you all so much.
DC Universe has canceled their show DC Daily. This actually featured Kevin Smith's daughter, Harley Quinn Smith. She was one of the hosts of that show, but she's been getting quite a bit of work lately. So, fans of Total Bellas rejoice. E has renewed that show for season 6.
So you're not an avid watcher there, Rob?
That is a big negative.
No!
So a couple of weeks ago, we talked about on the other show how some of the members of the ROH roster were doing D&D campaigns on a YouTube channel. Apparently, those that are responsible for what's called Red Nose Day, for those of you that don't know, this is a children's charity this year helping children who have been affected by the pandemic. This will take place from June 18th to 20th. There will be a number of D&D campaigns, one of which, Alex, get ready, 5 members of the cast of Game of Thrones will be playing Dungeons and Dragons.
I feel like they have to play a particular type of Dungeons and Dragons, maybe in the mold of something they're used to.
So I'm looking forward to this. But there's a lot of Thomas Middletitch.
Did they say who?
You know what they did? Let me see if I can pull that up.
Oh, well, you continue. I'll look it up.
Hold on, I'm on it right now. Probably typed that wrong, but I don't care. Let's see. You've got Daniel Portman, who played Podrick Payne.
Nice.
Gemma Whelan, who played Yara Greyjoy.
Ooh, good one.
Ramsey Bolton.
Yes, I have my favorite.
I'm waiting for the page to come up from Nerdist. I almost had it. Hold on, just one moment. Gemma Whelan, who played Yara Greyjoy.
You said her.
Okay, hold on. Kristen Nairn, who plays Hodor. Ooh. And Natalia Tina, who played Osha.
Oh, very nice.
So that is your D&D Live. Also, be other. Let's see if they've listed any of the other celebrities. I know Thomas Middletitch was on the list
because he's on everybody's list.
Because that's what he does. They're not saying this particular story doesn't say who else.
Okay.
So it's going to be called D&D Live 2020 Roll with Advantage. June 20th.
That feels uninspired.
The Game of Thrones edition will be June 20th at noon Pacific. So Saturday.
Exactly a week from now?
Yes. The next Saturday at 2 p.m. Central, if my math serves.
Yes.
HBO Max has renewed the why did I just lose her name? This is my life lately. Anna Kendrick. Her show Love Life has been renewed for season 2. Anna Kendrick, how you doing? But in an interesting move this week, and I don't know quite how I feel about it, HBO Max has pulled Gone with the Wind.
Interesting.
But Amazon Prime Video has not.
Well, you have the definitely catch-22 on whether you pull it or not.
Right.
It's because of certain aspects on one side of the fence and then aspects on another side of the fence. And
I will say I think the best example of dealing with that is what Looney Tunes did with their Golden collections, where older Looney Tunes cartoons are incredibly on PC.
You're talking about the disclaimers?
Yeah. So what they did was Whoopi Goldberg actually does a video disclaimer talking about the cartoons and the times they're set in. I see this argument from both sides, but I've watched Gone with the Wind. I was 12. I didn't need to watch it again. It took an entire week of history class because it's a 5-hour movie. I'd rather watch the Godfather epic.
Still never seen it. But I to back you on this one, I really appreciate, because in that disclaimer, they don't try to excuse what it is, or they don't try to do it. But the aspect is like they say, look, we're not saying it was okay at that time. It was never okay, but it was the social time of it, and we don't want to hide it because that would be pretending like it doesn't exist. That was the big one that stuck with me.
It's kind of like Blazing Saddles when you think about it.
That's a fair point.
That's a lot of Mel Brooks movies, actually.
But really,
Blazing Saddles in this regard, yes.
Yes.
I think I totally lost my train of thought. But I know what I was going to say. I think the best way I've heard it put was on the ESPN yesterday. Display it where it needs to be displayed, and that's in a museum. Which is really what Looney Tunes did. They museumed it.
Well, and I think like the hard part is and this is going to be a weird aside, wasn't Gone with the Wind the first time an African American won an Oscar?
Yep. Hattie McDaniel.
So definitely going to be a museum worthy moment.
So we've got some more news about HBO Max. HBO Go will be phased out next month.
Okay, that does cover what we had talked about before.
So HBO Now is within the next few months. I still have not gotten any word on the Amazon Fire Stick or on the Roku, which, by the way, shout out to those of you out there with an Amazon Fire Stick. We found out last night the Vocal app now available on the Amazon Fire Stick. So we're very excited about that. Friend of the show, Rachel Wimberly, texted me a picture that she was on Vocal on her TV on her Amazon Fire Stick earlier today. So I'm very excited about that. We're doing things, people. We're doing things. Hulu has canceled the period series Harlots, and they have also canceled Reprisal. So adjust your rosters accordingly there. Remember how much during the Super Bowl and around that time, NBC was just absolutely pimping this Lincoln Rhyme Hunt for the Bone Collector series?
Yeah, I saw a couple of those. It's kind of
Canceled.
Thank you.
Alex.
Apparently, the HBO Max app is built for Roku and Fire TV before the release was ever done. They're waiting for the deals to be signed.
Okay,
Amazon and Roku are both holding fast that they don't want to work with HBO Max because they feel like that might hurt their business.
I got both.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is that's the reason we don't have it.
Also, if you're a fan of the NBC show Perfect Harmony, canceled. But they have renewed Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist for season 2. This show intrigues me, but not enough to watch it. This is about a young lady who can see people's true feelings, but they're all done through song from what she sees.
Yeah, that's definitely in that scope of, like, I'm very intrigued by the concept. I just don't have the time or desire to make
it's one of those, the rabbit hole's going to be real deep if I get to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Netflix. Remember we talked a while back that Netflix was bringing back Unsolved Mysteries?
Mm-hmm.
It debuts July 1st.
Nice.
So get ready for that. Only one TV on DVD and Blu-ray this week. It is season 2 of Project Blue Book. This is a supernatural UFO type series that I believe the Discovery Channel does. It's either Discovery or History. One of the two.
I believe it's Discovery. Sean's a big fan.
So let's get into music talk.
But before we move on to music,
yes, sir.
We also have F is for Family dropping yesterday on Netflix.
The great Bill Burr.
Big fan of the Bill Burr. Next week is also Mr. Iglesias.
Rumor that Bill Burr is returning for season 2 of The Mandalorian.
I hope so. Bill Burr can do everything.
I love him. He's so great. I've been a fan of that man for a very, very long time. Oh, speaking of comics, we didn't talk about this on HBO Max. A lot of the original HBO One Night Stands are on HBO Max.
Ooh, and those were good.
The old ones.
Yeah.
The OG One Night Stands of comics that people are like, who is that? I'm like, no, you don't understand. They were
big,
really
puffy
big
shirts and bigger hair.
Like Susie Essmans, I think is on there. Some really great comedy. Would Sam
Kinison be on that?
He didn't do. He was more. His specials were mostly on Showtime.
But he did a couple HBO shows. I know that.
He didn't do a one night stand. I can tell you that.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Most of what he did was like his debut was on the Rodney Dangerfield Young Comedian special, which I believe was a Showtime thing. So music headlines, Dashboard Confessionals, Chris Carrabba, he's their front man. A lot of people have been wondering why he's been so quiet because he's very active in social issues. Apparently a week ago, he got in a severe motorcycle accident. He will recover. He's like, he did put out a post. He's like, the doctors believe I'm going to recover. It was a severe motorcycle accident. Trust me, I'm watching what's going on. So we hope that he recovers well. Because Dashboard Confessional is one of those bands that's like, oh, they do that song. Oh, okay, I know who they are. Great band. Listen, I'm going to say this next story's for Don.
Okay.
Don, what's your favorite singing quartet from the 70s? This should not take you very long to think about.
One is Pink Floyd.
No, what's the first musical we ever saw together?
Oh, okay, that one. The biggest export from Sweden at one point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And you remember Mamma Mia. You were there.
Yeah. We were all there.
We were all there.
Yeah.
Mamma Mia and a musical of ABBA music.
Yeah.
Don, what would I tell you? What would you do if I said Disney was working on doing that with another person's music that I think you enjoy?
Metallica?
No.
Okay.
A little bit later than ABBA. What if I told you it was called All Night Long?
Lionel Richie?
Yes, sir.
Wasn't that the number 1 song when I was born?
It could have been. I
believe it was.
I believe you're right because and here's the only reason I can make this connection. Alex is actually 10 years younger than me. So that would have put Alex born when I was in the 5th grade. So in my elementary school, the 5th graders did 2 concerts. They did a Christmas concert and an end of the year concert. And the end of the year concert was always more like poppy stuff. And that song was part of our end of the year concert. So you're probably right.
Let's see. Released in 1983, won the Grammy Award for Song of the Year.
There you go.
In 1984. So
there you go.
In 83, won 84 Grammys.
I'm intrigued by this.
So basically, they're doing a Mamma Mia with Lionel Richie stuff.
Yep.
I like Lionel Richie.
I do too. I'm a big Lionel Richie fan. And it's Disney. So we're gonna see how that goes. Great thing happening today in the UK.
I like that Running with the Night song. I love that.
That's a good song. I'm an unapologetic fan of Dancing on the Ceiling.
You have said that before.
It's a horribly cheesy song, but I am unapologetically like, I just wanted to have been in the room where somebody went, okay, here's the lyric. Oh, what a feeling when we're dancing on the ceiling. Run with it.
Oh, what a feeling.
Don, no.
Dance. Okay. No, okay.
Let it go. We have not scheduled our karaoke concert yet. So today in the UK, this is a really neat thing that they're doing. So we've all heard stories for years and years about mayors of cities that make bets, right? So like, let's just say, because we've got our bet coming up, that
Sorry, I muted a cough early. I'm working on it.
So we've got week 1 of the NFL, the bet, Giants Steelers. So
going to lose.
Normally what would happen is like the mayor of New York would have a bet with the mayor of Pittsburgh where if Pittsburgh wins, then they have to send them like a bunch of New York pizzas. And if New York wins,
it's kind of like
then the Steelers would send.
It's kind of like in the last Super Bowl where it's like the last Super Bowl where the Kansas City mayor bet the Boston mayor, and they had their little side bet. Yeah,
right.
Okay.
I don't believe they bet the Boston mayor, but
the senators actually made bets too between the Kansas.
So,
I mean,
stay with me.
Okay, go ahead.
So there are 2 cities in England, Greater Manchester and the metro mayor of the Liverpool City region. I don't know how they keep all that straight over there. So they get today, it happened about 6 or 7 hours ago, but I'm sure it's available for you to check out on the United We Stream platform. They got into a charity DJ battle. Oh, wait, there's more. The charity DJ battle was only limited to bands that came from their cities.
Oh, that's not fair for that's not fair for the guy that isn't from Liverpool.
Go look at the lists.
I'm working on it.
Both of these cities have produced some pretty heavy hitters from the 60s on. So
60s. Wow.
So the winners, this DJ battle is actually benefiting a charity from each city. So for Liverpool City region, it's a LCR Cares, which benefits a lot of different organizations in that city. And for Manchester, Greater Manchester, it was the Greater Manchester's Mayor's Charity, which benefits the homeless. I am completely and totally on board with this. I mean, what would you give to have like in LA versus Chicago or Seattle versus or New York versus Chicago, Seattle versus LA? I would love this. I am full on board with this.
I think I need to retract my statement.
I told you.
Manchester's pretty deep, but the Beatles are the greatest band of all time.
Well, yeah, I mean they're it, but I mean they may have disqualified the Beatles just because.
Nope.
No, really? Okay.
No. So your quick rundown of the most popular choices for Manchester were the Bee Gees, the Hollies, Herman's Hermits.
Something good.
For the early dance scene of Manchester. Then there was the later era of Joy Division, the Smiths, New Order, and Happy Mondays. Now, New Order also had a different aspect in there as well, but Liverpool had Jerry and the Pacemakers, the Searchers, and the Beatles.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one because
that was hosted on the United We Stream platform, so you may be able to see a replay on that. But I think that's amazing.
That is really cool.
In rougher news that took America completely off guard this week, Kelly Clarkson has filed for divorce.
Really?
And people deep inside the organization are saying they didn't even know. And for those of you that don't know, her manager, who also happens to be one Reba McEntire, is her mother-in-law.
Interesting.
Yeah. So if you got $100 sitting around,
go on.
I do.
Or do you have $100 that can be split amongst 5 or 6 people laying around?
Go on.
Do you have plans on June 27th?
Go on.
Do you like drive-in movie theaters?
No, I'm out. I'm kidding. After our big idea.
June 27th, $100 a car. You can get tickets on Ticketmaster right now, I believe. No, they go on sale this coming Friday. Garth Brooks streaming a concert live to 300 drive-ins across North America.
That's cool.
$100 a car.
I really hope it.
But it's Ticketmaster, so it's probably about 150.
Yeah.
But Don,
I'm listening.
do you think this is a great idea?
Who knows? I mean, people thought, you look at the streaming that lately been going on because of the pandemic, it's kind of been successful in a lot of ways.
I'm asking, are you interested?
Nah, but some for Garth Brooks, no, I'm not a big country fan. Even though I was born in Montana and all that stuff, My dog died, truck broke down. Wife
Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Now, let me just say, last night, streaming concert I watched, Sidewalk Prophets, had a great time. Great show to Sidewalk Prophets. However, I'm glad you said that, Don, because you would have had a schedule conflict if you had said you were interested in this, because somebody else is streaming a concert that same night. Along with Brad Paisley and Mac McAnally from the Grand Ole Opry for the first time ever, June 27th, Jimmy Buffett.
Really?
That is happening, sir. You could still get your Buffett fix, which I know makes you happy.
Yeah, but
2 weeks from today. Buffett has never played the Grand Ole Opry before. This is his very first time. They will be streaming it live, and you could probably watch it at home.
Part of me really wants to giggle.
So you'll go to YouTube and look up Circle All Access. That's who's going to be carrying that concert.
Okay.
My grandfather played the Grand Ole Opry before Jimmy Buffett.
I have sung on the stage at the Grand Ole Opry when I was a senior in high school in Nashville. That was our band trip. And I think we sang Mary Had a Little Lamb or something just to say we could sing on the stage at the Opry. That is a true story.
Yeah, I want to say it was 1954. My grandfather was the premier organist.
Very nice.
On the Grand Ole Opry.
Mazel tov. Music new releases and places you get music new releases this week. If you want to hear a lot of this, Bob Dylan releases Rough and Rowdy Ways. What?
You show some respect.
I like the Bob Dylan.
I'm a fan of Bob Dylan, but you can't deny that.
No, you can't.
Oh, no, of course.
On my dreaded brass bed. The Jason Mraz with a new album this week.
Okay.
Which I love the title of this album, Look for the Good.
Dig that a lot.
Lamb of God.
Because feel good.
If you need some screamo in your life, with the self-titled album. If I say the name Maya Hawke, does that mean anything to you guys?
It sounds familiar, but I need refresher.
Is it related to Tony Hawk?
Probably not.
Wrong spelling.
Okay. Well,
more like Ethan Hawke?
That is Ethan Hawke's daughter, I do believe. I'm getting there.
Okay.
I was not prepared.
As usual.
I've got 2 words for you. Oh, her birthday is 6 days after mine, except I was 25 when she was born. Robin Buckley from Stranger Things.
I'm sorry, what now?
She's on Stranger Things.
Okay.
And by the way, not only is Ethan Hawke her dad, but her mom's the Uma Thurman. So,
that's a drop off.
Oh, wow.
But she's got an album coming out this week called Blush.
Oh, good for her.
So Mazel Tov to her. I believe she was in that Little Women. Yeah, she was in the Little Women one that Greta Gerwig did. She played Jo.
That's actually kind of interesting because wasn't Ethan Hawke in a version of Little Women years ago?
I believe you are correct,
because
sir.
there's 4 billion versions of that movie.
And then not only do we have Bob Dylan with a new album, you also have another album. If you like songs that sound like this when I sing, Neil Young with a previously unreleased 1974 album called Homegrown.
I don't know if that one works. The Bob Dylan one worked. Don, what do you think?
Yeah, that one, but I don't know about the Neil Young. I mean, yeah,
Exactly.
Neil Young has some great songs. I like him, but
Great songwriter should not perform his own material. Just saying.
Well, there's been a lot of singers that have done some great stuff too, though.
No, I agree with you fully and wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen.
All right, let's
get into movie talk because we're coming in hot in movie talk this week. Have you seen this debacle with the new Pete Davidson film?
Not the debacle, but I've seen it advertised like crazy.
Called The King of Staten Island. I'm actually interested, and I believe the Bill Burr is in this.
Yes, he is. I believe he plays the stepfather, and it is at least semi-autobiographical.
Yes. Hits VOD yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody at Universal, an executive, sold it to 100 drive-ins nationwide and wasn't supposed to.
Oops.
So they had to pull it at the last minute. Judd Apatow said it was never supposed to do that. It was only supposed to go straight to VOD. So you've got 100 drive-ins across the country going, we've sold tickets. Yeah. So one of them actually substituted. They said, you can have your money back, or we can give you a double feature of 16 Candles in the Breakfast Club.
Well, that's an improvement on anything Pete Davidson has ever done.
That was my first thought, was this is the most Pete Davidson thing ever.
Yeah.
But I'm interested in this film.
I'm intrigued by it, but I have never been a fan of his.
I think that the rest of this cast
That's what gets me.
carries it.
But
for me.
if only you just looking at the trailer, if only you go Bill Burr, Steve Buscemi in. Because what's really funny about that is, if I'm not mistaken, Steve Buscemi was a New York firefighter.
Yes, he was.
Which he plays in this movie.
Can we just
crickets?
Just get me to it? It's like this computer. It's the page has like an intro and stuff. I'm trying to figure out if there's anybody else. Moises Arias, who I'm a fan of, is in this.
Yes.
Marissa Tomei is in this.
Always a fan.
Those are just right off the top of my head, the people that I recognize.
Wait, do we have to say Oscar winner Marissa Tomei?
I'm fully on board with that.
Yeah.
Aunt May herself.
Mm-hmm.
Written by Judd Apatow, Pete Davidson, and Dave Serious wrote this. So
I believe the original story was written by Pete Davidson, and Judd Apatow did the adaptation.
Comedian Bonnie McFarlane is in this. Jay Rodriguez. Pamela Alden is in this. Machine Gun Kelly is in this. Robert Smigel.
Wait, Robert Smigel's in this?
Yeah.
That's great.
He is the male pharmacy owner. California theaters are opening at 25% capacity this weekend, so we're going to see how that goes.
Did they ever say what the break even was? Because I don't believe 25% was it.
I have not heard.
Okay, because I want to say that they said telling us we can open for 25% might as well not happen.
And we are going to talk about the Florida thing tomorrow.
Which Florida? Well, we'll deal with that tomorrow.
Yeah, the Florida in this vein. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. But here's the part of the deal with that. Originally, Tenet was supposed to open July 17th. That was the goal. They have now pushed it back to July 31st to build a buffer in there. But July 17th, another Christopher Nolan film is getting a re-release in theaters with bonus material. If you can believe, it is now the 10th anniversary of a little film called Inception.
10
years. So if you've got about 4 hours to kill, because that movie by itself is 2.5 hours long. But see, here's my thing with Inception. Like, I have made it very well known on this show. I am a big Christopher Nolan fan. I love it.
As am I.
Inception did nothing for me. By about halfway, because I watched it when it came on HBO or something.
I will disagree with you, and I will tell you one reason why.
Hold, let me finish.
Okay, sorry. So
I was watching it, and by halfway through, it just became background noise to whatever else I was doing. It seemed like it was as Michael Smith and Jamel Hill used to say on SportsCenter, hashtag doing too much.
I would say there are two things that Inception gave us.
Okay.
Great visuals.
I will not disagree with that.
Granted, after the first time you see them, there's no shock value. Number two is giving Tom Hardy a big budget movie where he can do more to show that he could do things like Mad Max Fury Road.
Speaking of Tom Hardy, I did watch Star Trek Nemesis this past week.
Young Picard.
Yes. Well, pseudo. It's very
Picard.
That film was really heavy.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Now, because of Tenet moving to July 31st, Wonder Woman 1984 has moved to October 2nd.
Okay.
Because I want to say they're both Warner Brothers.
Well, that was we talked about it a couple of shows ago about how Tenet was the linchpin on the rest of the year for
Right.
Warner Bros. Because of their distribution being we don't want to compete with ourselves.
And speaking of comic book properties that have turned into movies,
He said, sounding very dejected.
we are 20 days away. Ragnarok 2020 is coming, and it will save every one of us. And that's what I have to say about that. Stay tuned. Into the Spider-Verse 2 has begun production. We have positive yardage on this film. I'm very excited. Loved the first one. Don't own it yet, but I will someday soon. Don, do you remember hearing about a film earlier this year, a horror film called The Wretched?
Something a little bit.
That we were supposed to screen, and then the screening got canceled because the world broke.
Yeah, exactly.
It did get a drive-in movie theater release.
Oh, did it? Okay.
It has made over $1 million.
Really?
Which,
Just
in the
driving.
grand scheme of things, you think about and you go, $1 million in the current landscape, not bad.
Yeah.
Until I tell you that this movie was made for $162,000.
And that's like even below the $5 million for the what's that one?
For
studio?
Blumhouse.
Blumhouse,
Yeah.
yeah. 162,000. Oh boy.
And it's cleared $1 million. But but it looks like the kind of film that was made for drive-ins. Because a lot of drive-in movies, you know, back in the day, if you wanted to take a young lady to the drive-in, you wanted it to be a horror film.
It's like, hey, honey.
And he somehow made it worse.
Oh, dear. I have to apologize to our audience for that.
I would like to apologize to people that may have just felt a disturbance of it.
And for those of you that don't know, this is a defiant teenage boy struggling with his parents' imminent divorce, faces off with a 1,000-year-old witch who is living beneath the skin beneath the skin of and posing as the woman next door. And you know what I say to that?
No. You're supposed to do your no.
I can't be predicted. So we talked about Judd Apatow earlier. He is the director of The King of Staten Island. Have you seen what he's working on next?
I have not.
So we talked last week on this show, or a couple of weeks ago, we talked about HBO Max. About the first thing I watched on HBO Max was the 2-part documentary he did about Gary Shandling, which is absolutely amazing if you haven't. It's called The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling. It's very, very long because that's why it's in 2 parts, but it's incredibly good. His next film, he is working on a documentary about one George Carlin.
Oh, I'm in. 100% in.
Make it so. And I want it to be 4.5 hours, just like the Gary Shandling thing.
I feel like we need to do that teaser of like, okay, Gary Shandling, fantastic. George Carlin, fantastic. We need to just do a rundown of all the greatest comedians of all time and just have that.
And let Judd Apatow do it because the guy's a genius. I'm a huge fan. All right, let's see here. Don, you will be very happy to know.
What's that?
Looks like we're getting Happy Death Day 3.
Oh, Lord.
Happy Death Day 3U. Doesn't quite work.
Mm-mm. But yeah, no, apparently
they're going to do something like that.
Eh, it is what it is.
Freedom.
No.
Freedom. I like that. Freedom.
So we talked a few weeks ago that the Tom Hanks World War II sub-drama Greyhound was going straight to Apple TV. We now have a release date for that. It will be July the 10th.
Ooh, sooner than I expected.
Which, if you're going to do it in July, probably don't. That's a good date because you don't want to go because, well, why would you do July 4th weekend? Because Disney Plus is pretty much going to shut down the internet that weekend because July 3rd is going to be the release of that Hamilton deal.
Well, then on top of it, if you're going to do a Tom Hanks movie around then, Saving Private Ryan might come first.
Right. And, you watched Hamilton that morning. Maybe you get in the car and flash on over to Ragnarok that night. I'm just saying.
Did you really just do that?
You better believe I did. And,
you just flash on over?
Yep.
Flash.
Mm-hmm.
Flash. He said flash.
You got my text on that, right, Don?
Yeah, I did.
Good.
The Ragnarok thing, yes, sir.
Yep. So about 3 years ago now, we were doing a live show at the Dallas Summer Musicals at Fair Park. And the live show we did was for the Texas High School Musical Awards, which is always, it's a great show, and we're looking forward to someday being able to do that again. But Don, do you remember one of the big musicals that all the kids were talking about that we hadn't heard of, and then all of a sudden it was on the docket to play at DSM, and then it didn't because the world broke?
Something like, which one was it?
Dear Evan Hansen.
Okay.
Apparently we're getting a movie version. And Caitlin Dever, who is a fairly new actress on the scene, but she made a huge movie last year that was directed by the Olivia, not Munn. Who's the one that's with Sudeikis?
Wilde.
Olivia Wilde that she directed. But that she's going to be the female lead in the movie version of Dear Evan Hansen. DVD and Blu-ray new releases and places you get DVD and Blu-ray new releases this week. A movie that I am absolutely fascinated about. And I don't know if we've talked about it on this show, but I know I've mentioned it, at least to you, Alex. I don't know if I've mentioned it to Don. It's called Three Christs.
Oh, we have talked about that at length. That looks so good.
This has been sitting on a shelf for 3 years.
How?
I don't know, but the MDib has it as
how?
The MDib has it as 2017.
Jeez.
This is based on a true story, based on a book called The Three Christs of Ypsilanti. Three Christs follows Dr. Alan Stone, who is treating 3 paranoid schizophrenic patients at the Ypsilanti State Hospital in Michigan, each of whom believe they were Jesus Christ. And so what he does is he puts them all 3 in the same room at the same time.
Yeah, it's group therapy for everybody who thinks they're Jesus.
Oh, apparently
Wow,
it is. Was that you, Alex?
Yeah, that was him.
What?
Oh, you're
You
loud.
just got really loud
I apologize.
and very bassy.
Sorry, it's my manliness.
I thought something happened on my internet browser. I'm like, I had that muted. But this was directed by John Avnet. Here's your cast. Richard Gere, Peter Dinklage, Juliana Margulies, Bradley Whitford, Kevin Pollak, Don Walton Goggins, Stephen Root. I mean, I am all in. I saw the trailer for this and I was like, I am all in.
Well, especially when you think about it with...
Okay, so you are really distorted right now. I don't know something just happened about a minute and a half ago.
I killed my fan. How do I sound right now?
You sound very loud and distorted right now.
Yeah, you do. You do.
Weird. Let me adjust
bring
here
that
and see. How am I sounding right now?
Keep going.
Am I still good? Right here?
It's not as bad, but it's still pretty distorted.
Interesting. It might be a cable thing.
So the 3 Christs are Dinklage, Bradley Whitford, and Walton Goggins.
That's what I was going to go for.
So 3 Jesuses together, and I think they're all Jesus at the same time.
Dude, I'm telling you, watch this trailer. It is fascinating. I am all about this film.
But what's that one called again?
It's called Three Christs.
3 Christs. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What's the number 3 or 3 or THR?
It's spelled out.
Okay.
Another film I saw the trailer for on my Trailers app that releases this week is called The Quarry, Quarry. This is a crime thriller where a drifter kills a traveling preacher and takes his place in a small town church. The drifter is played by one Shea Wiggum, who you might remember from Boardwalk Empire. The police chief, get ready, America, Michael Shannon. Let's go. I'm telling you, I'm in on this. I'm all in. Shea Wiggum and Michael Shannon, who is also on Boardwalk Empire. I'm all in.
Well, it's kind of like that show in Banshee where you got a guy who takes over the sheriff thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that kind of thing. So,
Impractical Jokers, the movie this week. If you're into that show.
I like the guys. I just don't like the show.
And also a movie that was teased earlier this year. This was one of those that was also a victim of the pandemic, is going straight to DVD, called Saint Francis. This is after an accidental pregnancy turned abortion, a deadbeat nanny finds an unlikely friendship with the 6-year-old she's charged with protecting. This looks like it's a really good film. Check the trailer out for this one as well. And the Criterion Collection this week releases Buster Keaton's The Cameraman.
Ooh, that's a good one.
But you know which one I'm waiting on.
Oh, yes.
Don, did you see the Criterion announcement for next month?
No.
July 14th. They are releasing all 5 Bruce Lee films in a box set.
How did you like Be Water?
Here's my thing with Be Water. I knew the source material for that because the original version of the 30th anniversary, I think, version of Enter the Dragon that I had on DVD had that interview on it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched Enter the Dragon on Blu-ray the day before that aired. There is a documentary on that Blu-ray that if I hadn't watched that before, I think I would have been more fascinated by it. But what I liked about Be Water is just the way he says it. I can't say it in the way because he's so cool the way he says it. What I really was fascinated by was how all the interviews were VO. You didn't see the people being interviewed until the very end in the end credit sequence.
That was really cool how that was done.
So it didn't take away from the footage they were showing. And just so you guys remember, Bruce Lee was 5'8", and he kicked Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the face.
Yeah.
I still, like, watching that sequence from Game of Death, I still can't wrap my brain around it. And I really want that box set.
See, and what I found really fun with that is I didn't know about the positive representation on Longstreet, because that was obviously before my time. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was a really cool touch on there because, like you, I knew a lot of the material and the interview, but that was something I didn't know.
I'm wondering if this is your connection.
Possibly.
Because it sounds like, you know how like when you listen to a record and you take your finger and you slow the record down? That's how it kind of sounds right now.
Awkward.
Because I'm sure you probably sound normal to you because you would notice it.
Yeah. It does.
No, you have to listen to the playback.
I will.
Tech Talk this week. So we have an announcement from San Diego Comic-Con. It will happen online starting July the 22nd, and it's free for everyone. So if you've ever wanted to be a part of San Diego Comic-Con, you can now say you did it, because you can do it for free starting July 21st or 22nd. I'm sorry. And that is a Wednesday.
Is that the idea that we're still going to get Comic-Con in some form is great.
Yeah. And people now get to experience it without having to be with 10,000 sweaty people.
All in a space for 400 people.
Exactly. Go ahead.
Other stuff in tech. Oh, sorry.
Netflix has released actual hubs on their app for films that pertain to Black Lives Matter and for Pride, because June is Pride Month. So good on you, Netflix.
Absolutely.
And a lot of like we talked about this last week, that there are a lot of films from African-American directors and dealing with the African-American experience that you can watch right now. Selma, free. Just Mercy, free. A lot of things out there to help educate people on culture. And I'm totally behind this. So go out there, get yourself educated, and you can do it for free, which is even better. So there's no excuse to not educate yourself.
I feel like a jerk for the tech talk I was going to do, but go ahead.
Well, maybe I've got it on the list. You don't know for sure yet, because the PS5 was revealed this week.
Do you have the list?
I do.
Good.
Looks like the DualSense controller was one of the big things released. That's going to have a microphone built into it.
Makes me uncomfortable.
I can understand that.
Well, because it doesn't turn off. As long as it's connected, it doesn't turn off.
Well, neither do my Echo Shows or my Echo Dots. It can be mounted vertically or horizontally. There will be 2 different versions. There will be one with a built-in Blu-ray 4K drive. And there will be what they call a digital edition, which is a little bit thinner because it doesn't have the drive in it.
Right. They're following Microsoft's mold with the Xbox because they have been doing that for a little while. One of the things PlayStation tried to do to combat that with the 4 was having the regular PS4 and the PS4 Pro. So now they're trying to shift to the more non-physical medium instead.
Can you just go, you'll never find, just real quick for me? Because you sound like Lou Rawls, and I love it.
Okay.
I'm telling you, wait till you hear this on the playback. It's weird. It's going to have an AMD Zen 2 CPU in it. Also with a custom AMD RDNA 2 based graphics card. So this thing's going to go kind of hard. But here's the thing that's interesting. And Alex, I'm going to be interested in your opinion on this. It's going to have an SSD 825 gig drive. But the games have to be installed on the SSD because of the speed of the processor.
Right, and that's one of the things that PlayStation has always had a problem with, and that's why Microsoft was able to grab as much of the market as they could initially, was because PlayStation, it's like, hey, I want to play this game, I better start loading it last Tuesday. But Microsoft eventually, when things started to catch up, had that same aspect. So one of the things that both of these have been doing was working towards functioning like a high-functioning PC. And that's one of the funny parts about the PS5 being like, oh, look at all these great specs. And Microsoft's like, we don't have to say anything. We're better than that on everything on our new one.
I'm interested in 825 gigs, though.
It's going to be crap. It's basically going to be a placeholder, and you're going to have to, theoretically, that you might have to uninstall and reinstall. But what I'm betting is going to come down the line is the external hard drives.
You'd have to. Because my Xbox One has a T.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw on Woot today, they've got a 4T drive for like $85. 4 Ts. It's just like every year I'm like, do I really need that much space? And then the next year you're like, yeah, I kind of do.
but that's also one of those ones that's funny about like the Series X that's coming out around the holiday. Have you seen the drive size on that?
I have not heard of it.
It's a terabyte. So you're looking at 825 gigs versus a terabyte.
That's what my Xbox One has a T. That's what I'm saying.
No, but this is standard. This is the Microsoft standard now.
Right, as it should be.
Yeah.
So
the idea of having a solid state drive where it's a terabyte, or if you have anything less than a terabyte, you're just a jerk.
Yeah. So let's go through the titles that they announced this week.
Very intrigued by this.
Your new Spider-Man game will be having a Miles Morales story, which I am absolutely on board with.
Especially with how well received the last Spider-Man game was.
Yep. Mm-hmm. GTA 5 and GTA Online. If you're into the Grand Theft Auto.
The enhanced versions to go up to the 4K.
Okay. Ratchet and Clank with a new game called Rift Apart.
I've seen some video on this. It looks amazing.
Something called Project Athia. I'm not
familiar with this one.
There wasn't a lot of detail given on that. Stray, where you play a stray cat.
We're going to write this one down. I knew you were going to write this down.
I just listed all of them that were on there. I didn't give preference one over another.
Well, but the fact that one's high on the list for you.
These are literally in the order in the story I read them.
Yeah, but the gist is I could see coming over to your house and Mrs. Irvin playing Stray.
No, that will not happen.
Are you sure?
Yes. An interesting game called Returnal. It's a hybrid of a side-scroll and third-person shooter on a planet that changes every time somebody dies.
Yeah, it's an adapting world.
I'm intrigued by this one. Sackboy: A Bit Adventure. That's a thing. I
am excited for this one. Super excited for this one. Sackboy is the character from Little Big Planet,
right?
So it's a continuation of that without going Little Big Planet, however many, because we have so much download content.
Destruction All Stars, which is a driving demolition derby game.
It's a combination of Twisted Metal and Fortnite.
Kena Bridge of Spirits, which is kind of an open world type of game. Goodbye Volcano High, which is very animated.
Mm-hmm.
A new Oddworld called Soulstorm is coming.
It's been a while for that. There have been people clamoring for it.
Ghostwire Tokyo. Jet with 2 T's, The Far Shore.
Mm-hmm.
Godfall. Solar Ash. Hitman 3 is going to be a thing.
That looked amazing. Compared to how long it's been with the other Hitman and Hitman 2, Hitman 3 looks like a different world.
Astro's Playroom for the kids.
Oh, yeah.
NBA 2K21 was the only sports game that was announced, which I thought was kind of interesting.
I think that's because it was one of those of whether or not it was going to be a release title.
Bug Snacks, all one word.
I am totally unfamiliar, but I feel like that's another kid's game.
Yeah, these were ones that were just listed that had no details. The remaster of Demon's Souls.
Well-liked game.
Deathloop. And one that I saw a fair amount of celebration about, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 coming for the PS.
Yes. Well, it's actually called Horizon Forbidden West, but it is the sequel to Zero Dawn. That one was very well received, had looked remarkable on the new gear, but it's another one of those things where it'll look great while you play it if you have it uploaded, or if, they weren't running all these things on high-powered PCs when they're debuting them.
Anything else that I am missing this week, gentlemen?
Going through, I don't think I have anything else to add to that. I didn't know if we wanted to touch on what happened with the University of Houston when they reopened their facilities, or
they've had to reshut them back down.
Yes, within 3 days they had 6 positive COVID tests just from people attending the gym. The UT story.
Oh, that one.
That one's touchy. That's why I didn't know if we wanted to cover it. I don't have enough
detail on that yet to really be able to discuss that. I know that there are some things going down in Austin that could affect the way UT athletics exist going forward. But I was only referring to the song, the school fight song. I'm still doing research on that too.
Okay. Yeah, but the surface level, for anybody who's not familiar, they're looking into potentially changing the Eyes of Texas as the school fight song.
Because there are certain elements to that can be seen as offensive. Don, anything from you?
My big thing is, when how are we doing on time? We got a few minutes?
We have 13 minutes.
How do we think about, when do you think they're actually going to allow a full thing? Like a full, do you think
are you talking being at 100% capacity?
Yeah, and I'm talking about, like, let's say NFL. I know they're thinking NFL, or hopefully it'll be too far back, that kind of thing. But there's going to be some events coming up, like in this week, that some, for instance, political rallies. My question is on this whole thing is, with all these protests that happened, and like there's some political rallies scheduled for like a week from today. I think first off, this virus doesn't care. This virus doesn't care if it's a political rally or if it's a protest march or whatever. This virus is a virus.
Don't care who you are. Don't care where you come from. Don't care who your mom is.
If you're human, and I'm going to try to get in you and that kind of thing, and there we go. I don't care if you're here for this reason or that reason. And do you think that seeing what happens with the aftermath of these big protests, and don't get me wrong, people want to protest, I'm the first one to stand up for their rights. But looking at some of them rallies, it's like, oh my God, COVID, don't care. That's going to be a big wash. Same with some of these rallies and everything. Do you think there will be a spike and it will get so bad that all of a sudden they start getting hit again? And it's like, you know what, we opened this up a little too early. Where do you think that the NFL might have the first couple seasons say, nope, we can't do a full 60,000 stadium in here?
Just want to confirm, you said first couple seasons, right?
I mean, first couple games. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's games. What I wanted to make sure.
I'm sorry. Here's the problem that you currently have. The numbers that you're seeing right now are basically coming from Memorial Day weekend. Because remember, there's a 14-day incubation period.
Up to 14 days.
Right. Okay. So the stuff you're going to see now is going to be reported Father's Day weekend, which is next weekend. So all the stuff from all the protests and stuff, those numbers will be reported Father's Day weekend. And you're going to have people that are reactionary. It's like, no, This is from up to 2 weeks ago. Then you go 2 weeks from Father's Day and you get to 4th of July. So you're going to have a spike there because people are going to go to watch fireworks, even though most municipalities have canceled theirs. Now you're into the middle of summer. I don't see, at the rate we're going right now, there will be a second wave. It's going to happen because people are not being smart. I am very much leaning towards what we talked about last week when we talked about the statement that Cinemark released when they said they don't see movie theaters being back to anything that resembles what they were before until 2022. I think that's a fairly realistic estimate to when stuff can resemble what it looked like a year ago. Just because everybody is itching so bad to get back out there and do things that they're not necessarily listening to the people who, I don't know, it's job to monitor these things. You also have a lot of people that are quoting numbers from sources that are not reliable, which is causing mass panic. We need to start doing a better job as a people of listening to healthcare professionals and what they're telling us versus I just want to go get on my boat and be in a lake with 1,500 people. We need to be smarter and we need to listen more. Now, does that mean you have to shut yourself in your house and do enough grocery shopping so you can have food for a month and never leave? I'm not saying that because I don't do that.
Yeah.
If you
want to go ahead, but
I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna mow my lawn. If I need to run errands, I'm gonna run errands, but I'm going to be respectful to the people around me. Yesterday, I had to go to Guitar Center because I was doing some work with the guys over at 1334. And the door on Guitar Center said, your mask is required. Well, you know what? That mask went on my face. Yeah. It's about making smart choices, not putting yourself at risk. And I don't even call that rebellion. I just call it people not making smart choices.
Yeah. So my question to both of you is, let's say week 1, let's say Pittsburgh, New York.
Monday Night Football, baby.
Are they going to allow 60,000 people in the MetLife? Yes or no?
No.
No chance.
You might get 10.
I don't think you'll have any.
Okay.
I honestly think that if we do anything, it might not be till the second half of the season.
Yeah.
But I also agree with Alex from it's the smart move of let's see how we can do this with the personnel we have first before we start letting randos in the door. Because here's the thing, if you're going to take temperatures and all that good stuff for a noon game, you better open that stadium at about 5:30 in the morning. And once you're in, you're in. There's no in and out, which there normally isn't anyway.
Yeah.
But if you leave the stadium, you don't come back. And security is going to need to be a lot tighter of people trying to bring stuff in. We talk about movie theaters. You're not going to be able to walk into a movie theater and have your concession person scoop that fresh popcorn out of the popper. It's all going to be pre-packaged. Everything's going to be that way. And so even your stadium experience is going to be altered pretty severely. Even if you have every third seat, what if you want to high five the person next to you? Or, it's going to be weird for a while. But I think of the 4 major sports, and we talked about this on the show a few weeks ago, I think the NFL is taking the smartest route in this because they have, if you look at that deal and go back and watch that show, they have provisos built in to their plan. So if we have to cancel week 1 or week 2, we can make that up later. With the deal the NFL has in place, they can play the Super Bowl as late as almost March and still not miss a beat.
Yeah.
But I don't think the other sports they don't have the time nor the inclination, especially baseball, to get the deal worked out properly. But I it's a great question, Don, and it may be the 2021-22 season before we can see 100,000 people in the stadium, if ever. I mean, this may have changed things going forward.
Well, if they find a vaccine, then it's going to be a different story. It's gonna
Right,
be
but-
Well, the problem is then you have the anti-vax and everything that goes along with it because people are stupid.
yeah.
So like we say on this show every week, be smart, make smart choices, listen to medical professionals. We're going to keep bringing you content and trying to be the light as much as possible. We want you guys right here with us. We're so thankful to each and every one of you. Next weekend, we will be back to our normal schedule, but we will be doing both shows via Zoom because it's Father's Day. And we want to make sure that everybody spends time with their families. And so we will be doing our shows next week, both shows, this and the Cheap Popcast, via Zoom, but we'll still be live on Vocal. And then after that, we'll be at least live at Vocal for both shows for at least a week, because then you got 4th of July weekend and all that. So we'll figure, you'll know as soon as we do. Just make sure that you're following us on social media and we'll keep you up with everything. Twitter is at Clubhouse Show. Everything else is the Clubhouse Podcast. All 3 words in that order, or you will wind up somewhere else. You can follow me on social media if you would like. Everything is Yes That Rob Irvin. That is spelled ERVIN. The lady of the house is Jen Rome. You can follow her on Instagram at Jen Rome Home. She's out on assignment this week.
Exploit on all social media. Just a quick reading assignment if you wanted to look into the baseball thing more. Tim Kirkjian had a great article on ESPN about how baseball is missing the point. It really covers the details as to why this has been such a struggle.
And
However, if you would also...
I'm following up on that. I'm sorry. Tim Kirkjian is a guy that I go to as an authority. I co-sign that.
If you would like to help out with the show, please go to prowrestlingtees.com/thecheappopcast and buy shirts. We are a milestone away from being able to bring you more designs.
And on Twitter, I'm at Igbunu, IGBUNUUU. Also, heads up, everybody. I just protested my property tax amount for the first year. I feel so proud for the first time ever. And also, you can email me, Don at theclubhousepodcast.com.
Don Ford, local city activist.
It's great. They put my thing at $120.
Wouldn't you be a county activist, though?
Well, yeah, county. Because the thing is, I use the thing of the people in my neighborhood. My square footage per dollar per value is 128. Everybody else was like 95 to 110. Why was I at 128 per square foot?
Because they talk with their eyes open.
But who are the people in your neighborhood?
They're the people that you meet when you're walking down the street.
They're the people that you meet each day. There you go.
Yes, exactly. So I protested it. And hey, one last drink with orange. It's a fruit and it's an item and a drink and a flavor. Goodbye, everybody.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
Thanks for hanging on with the train wreck.
And we want to send a shout out because Don forgot to give his email address.
I did. I just did that real fast.
He did.
Okay, but we did want to give a shout out to everybody at Garland High School. Had the Real Owl Cinema Film Festival this week. It was virtual. Thank you to the Schuberts for doing such an amazing job. I watched the whole thing. I was there. Had a great time, and we want to thank them for plugging the show and giving us shouts out as well. Congratulations to all the winners and all the kids that did amazing work on their films, and we look forward to seeing the Schuberts and all those guys real soon. Our normal show every Sunday night, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, is your one-stop shop for all things pop culture. Don't forget, tomorrow at 2:30 Central will be the Cheap Podcast as we get you ready for Backlash. Remember, Charlotte Parker's on Pinterest because we are morally obligated to say that. She is my sister, and I love her, and I'm hoping to see her sometime soon as well.
Real fast, if I can bring up on the Real Al, they had some great work considering what was going on this year. They had some great movies and stuff. I have to give it out to them from watching that stuff. And that's all
they did a great job.
Yeah.
They did a great job, and congratulations to those guys. We're going to talk to you next Sunday at our normal time, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, your one-stop shop for all things pop culture. Remember, download the Vocal Now app, especially if you have an Amazon Fire Stick. It's available for that now. You can watch it on a big screen. Watch my huge hair on your big screen. Also, bookmark vocalnow.com, VOKAL now.com on your favorite browser. There's so much amazing content right here at Vocal Now that you need to be checking out all the time. because it's just endless. The amazing, amazing shows right here on the Vocal Now Network. Also, and that's right, Alex, we have stickers. We have stickers for the show. If you would like us to send you one, excuse me, email me, rob@theclubhousepodcast.com. Send a DM to us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, anywhere. And yes, we got some great stuff coming very, very soon, so get ready for that. So until next time, for Don, for Alex, for Jen Rome, and for the Empire, I'm Rob. Clubhouse is closed. Brittany Palmer, Fight Island. Let's go.